Hey everybody, welcome back. After my last video on how to repair a loose spine hinge, I got a couple of emails, and I want to thank those of you that did email me with questions or additional suggestions and things like that, of things that you would like to see about book repair. So we're going to be getting onto those. Sorry about the glare in my glasses. I'm remodeling my spare room right now, which I use as my work studio, and I just don't have a good way to set things up right now with the lighting in this room. So sorry if that distracts anybody. So today we're going to be putting a loose page back into a book. Last video I told you about 3 questions I'd like you to ask when you have a book repair. How is the book constructed? Based on how it was constructed, how did it fail, and how then to repair it? And then the third question, is it worth the cost? I would say I've rarely experienced a situation in which I did not think that this repair was worth the cost. It's pretty simple, really cheap, so just do it. And interestingly, in this repair, the construction method does not matter as much. The book that I'm repairing today has a copyright in it of 1904. It's a neat little text, and it's in really good condition. It's been well cared for, and it is a collection of Edgar Allan Poe. And the owner of this book really loves it. She bought it when she was really young at a garage sale, and introduced her to Edgar Allan Poe, and she loved it, and it's been sitting on her shelf, and she just wants to ensure that it's going to last. If I open it up here, you can see that this one leaf here has come out of the front of the book. Now this is not the end paper. That's still attached, and it's in good condition. That hinge is still working really well and has held up. I'll get a little bit closer here, and you might be able to see that right along here. You can see where there's a little bit of a gap, and this page is meant to go in there. This is a sewn construction book, and I find that in sewn construction books, I find this problem less common than with a very common book binding like this. This is called a perfect bind, and what happens with these, I don't know how well the camera's focusing on there, is these are a bunch of single pages stacked up, clamped down, and the edge is glued down, and then the cover is just glued directly to the spine and wraps around it. In these types of books, we frequently have pages coming out. And in fact, the next video is going to be dealing with that. Here's a Firefox book, which is a great resource for people that like homesteading or emergency preparedness things, just learning how to do things themselves in an old way. Great study of things that were compiled, I think, in the late 1960s into the 70s. As far as I know, they're out of print, so preserving these books is kind of nice. In this book, there are several pages that have come out in one section, and you can see that gap there. So the next video, I'm going to be showing how to do this similar type of repair, but in a perfect bound book for that one. But if you just have a single page, you could use this technique on a perfect bound book. It will change a little bit how those few pages connected are going to operate together, but if it's a single page, it's worth it. For this repair, the materials are going to be relatively simple. What I might want is just a blank sheet of paper, which is going to protect my surface table from any glue. I want some wax paper. I got a couple sheets of that one sheet that I just cut in half. I've got glue and a brush. Now this particular binding, like I said, it's copyrighted in 1904, which is using older materials. And because this book is in such good condition, I went ahead and used the wheat paste glue and just mixed up a small amount of it. This is a lot more than I need, but in the refrigerator this can keep for 6 or 7 days. So I can mix up a little bit of a batch. I can look for all the books that I want to be using this type of binding with and use it up. Now, there are a couple of different options. One is I can do this just holding it in my hand and being really careful. The second is I can put my sheet down, use my wax paper on an edge, and that's going to give me a very well-defined glue edge right along here. So, if you look at the book, and it's very, very faint, I'm going to use the end of my paintbrush here to kind of point it out, is you can see very faint lines coming in maybe about 3/16 of an inch from the edge of a book, like this. And what that is that's the glue line of where the page was originally glued down. On the pages, you can see, if you look very, very closely, that same type of discoloration, just about a 3/16 eighth of an inch in from the edge. It doesn't take a lot of space to glue these. Put my wax paper down right along that glue edge that I had. And then I'm going to just glue or put the adhesive down right along the edge of this, generously, but not so much as I'm going to get a bunch of squeeze out. I just want to make sure that I got enough on there that those fibers are going to get saturated with the moisture from this particular adhesive. But I don't want so much that it will glue more of the pages together. So here, if I hold that up, you can see it's a little bit shiny, and it gives me a fairly nice crisp line there. Now, for the position of this one is I want to glue both sides of this, so I'm using my second piece of wax paper to put the glue side down. That's going to prevent me from gluing the page down to my paper. I'm going to very carefully use the other piece of wax paper to create that barrier on this side. And again, I'm going to add more glue or adhesive. You can do this with a PVA or a Norbond. Any of the glues that I presented in the last video, you can still use those on this. But like I said, I want to use the wheat paste on this one because of the age of the book. All right. If I'm worried about any squeeze out, I'm confident this one's not going to squeeze out any. I'm going to put a piece of wax paper on each side of this inside the book, which will prevent this from gluing other pages together. But I'm looking at this, the glue went exactly where I want it, so I feel like I'm pretty good. And I'm going to very carefully line up this page along the head and foredge of the book first, making sure it's in the position that I want it, keeping the glue edge up off the page so I don't get glue where I don't want it. And then once that's there, I'm going to carefully come in and press that down into position. I'm going to use my finger right along there to press it in. Now, I could tell when I was using my finger there that I missed a couple spots and they were dry, so I'm going to very carefully add glue onto this side. And in fact, if you wanted to wait until you got this put together to add this glue in there, that's fine. I'm confident with my hand. I don't always use that wax paper, so that's a decision you get to make yourself. You could just lay the paper right along the inside of the book and just do it right in here. But I'm being very careful not to get extra glue where I don't want it. And I'm going to close this cover and press down a little bit. When I open it up, the end paper is still here. I'm going to press on the end paper side, and I'm going to just go like that. Now I want to clamp this down. A couple of different methods for that. You can just get a bunch of heavy weights, books, things like that, and put it on here. I normally don't fill the ridge of or the gap here with a stick like I did with the hinge because I've done nothing to change the hinge or soften it at all in this process. But if you do a lot of repair and you're lucky enough to get one, you can use a bookbinding press. This is mine, and all I need to do is put my book in there, crank down my handle up on top, and put a medium pressure on it. You know, just enough to help it just glue in there. Give it a little bit of a tight. I'm going to let that sit in there overnight, and that repair is going to be done. So that's a pretty simple repair. I think you guys should be able to handle that. If you have any questions, leave a comment below. If you have anything else that you want to see me talk about, leave a comment below. If you like what you're seeing, give me a subscription, and ensure that you'll get to see not only the book repair videos that I get, but you'll get notified when I do other projects, whether it's be woodworking, leatherworking, binding a full book that's in the works. So thanks.